Okay, testing 1, 2, just checking to see if you can see me and hear me okay. Okay, I am doing the ponytail today. This is Ponytail Steve. I've been out shoveling and snow blowing. We got a crap ton of snow, and so that was my morning. So it's not pretty hair Steve today. It's snow blowing hair Steve, something like that. Anyway, so thank you everybody for being here. This is awesome. We are in the 4th live session here where we're going to be talking about soloing. And I got a lot of things to kind of explain to you that, again, we'll go into more detail in the Christmas bundle. And if you don't know what that is, there's going to be a link somewhere near here that you can click on, and you can learn about the Christmas guitar bundle and see if it's something that you're interested in. So that's why we're doing these live sessions. Teach you a little something so you can walk away knowing some more information, maybe benefit you in your guitar journey. And then if you're interested, you can certainly look at that guitar bundle and see if it's something you're interested in. And if you're not, it's okay. I'm always more concerned with the fact that you're learning how to play and you're enjoying your journey. That's the most important thing. So thank you, everybody, for being here. This is awesome. I want to remind you, which I keep forgetting, that Derek is here somewhere. He's going to be helping with the chat, so if you have any questions about anything, he will be here. I'm not sure if anybody else will be here or not. And so let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to be talking about today is soloing. Now, again, it doesn't really matter whether you're new at soloing or you've been soloing a while. What I want to do is set up kind of an overarching way of thinking about soloing so you'll understand, oh, this is how it works, or this is what I need to do, or this is what I'm missing, or whatever it might be. So when I think about soloing, there's a couple things that I think about. The first thing is I think about the musical situation that I am going to be interacting with. When I say musical situation, what I mean is the song, the key, the tempo, the groove. Am I playing it live? Am I, playing it at, am I jamming with something at home? Am I writing something? Whatever information I can obtain about my musical situation so I can make some choices. Okay? And this is something that, ironically, I think a lot of guitar players don't spend enough time on. They just hear, oh, it's in the key of E major. This is the scale that I know or the position that I know, so I'm just going to move around and hope the chips fall where they may, and hopefully everything works out. And I hear that a lot. So I want to start off by saying this. In the real world, if you really care about your playing, you want to continually try and find a way to make a connection to the music that then makes a connection to the listener. It's not about, can I fake my way through something and hopefully it'll work out? Because I see that all the time where players will just learn a position on the fretboard, E major pentatonic, and they'll just, whatever it might be, and they'll just play hoping that things work out. Now again, I'm not saying that is a bad thing to a certain degree, because I think we all, when it comes to, let's define improvisation first of all. There's a difference between composition and improvisation. Composition is you're working on something to write something that is you can replicate, you can repeat it, right? At least in some degree. Improvisation is saying we're given a musical situation and we're going to try and connect to that musical situation in real time. And I think people think that that's like being on a deserted island and you're hearing something for the first time and you're playing the guitar upside down with your feet or whatever it might be. That's not true. Improvisation, the way I think of improvisation is regurgitating ideas that you've done before. You're just not sure which order and in what capacity they're going to come out. But it's not like the music's going to start and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've never played harmonic minor before, but here I go playing this way, right? It doesn't work that way. It's got to be something that you've experienced before in some capacity, right? Think about it this way. If you don't know your whole fretboard with a scale, whatever scale it is or whatever mode you're working with, if you don't know the whole thing, it's not like the music's going to start and all of a sudden the fretboard lights up and you know the whole thing. You don't. You don't know what you don't know, and you know what you know, right? So if you think about it that way, that's what we're trying to do, is we're going to assess the musical situation and then decide from there, what are the tools that we have? That's the second step. Now, I'm not done assessing, but we'll come back to that. So the second step is going to be, what tools do I have at my disposal that I am capable of utilizing in this musical situation? Okay? And then the third thing is the creative execution of said tools, right? Because that's what makes us all different. The information isn't what makes us different, because the information's available to all of us. Whether we know it or not is entirely our journey. Whether I know what a D Phrygian scale is, or I know what B Phrygian dominant is, or whatever it is, right? Whether I know what that is or not is relative to my journey and what I feel like I need, which we've talked about before in the other live sessions. But the lack of the information is going to limit the options that I have, obviously. That's not bad. That's, again, as I've been telling you before, what I love about teaching and what I love about the experience of the student is that not only are you learning to confirm what your talents are, but you're able to find the missteps, or you're able to find the issues in your playing and then decide whether or not it's something that you want to work on. So going back to what I said in the beginning, what I find a lot is that players will go, oh, it's in the key of whatever, E major. And then they just rely on hope that things are going to work out well. And you can tell, like if you've been playing for a while, you can tell a player that's just kind of halfway trying to, playing and hoping things work out. I want more for you with your playing. You might start there, but you want to continually try and find a way to make connections to the music and make it authentic, because people will hear that. Okay, so don't just settle on chance. I learned this position and the music starts and I'm just going to hope that things work out. Okay, so going back to the jam track that we had in the last live session, I want to play a little bit of this for you, and then we're going to talk more about it now. Okay, so let me find it here. Okay, so there's three things that I really am listening for. Number one, the key / chords that are in the key that are being used in this song. So if I can figure out the chords, it's going to tell me what key I'm in. Okay, again, for the most part. Now we're talking about soloing in a major key. Soloing in minor is a little bit different. It's all soloing blues is a little bit different. They all have their own kind of thing. But I'm still going to go into every situation that I'm going to be involved in, and I'm going to start by analyzing my situation. And then I'm going to figure out the tools that I have for that situation, and then I'm going to execute in the way that works best for my skill set. That's what I'm going to do every single time. So in this case, what I'm hearing is that there's an E chord, and then there's a B chord, and then there's a C sharp minor chord, and then there's an A chord. That's what the chord progression is doing. So what does that tell me? Well, that tells me I'm in the key of E major, okay? And if you know anything about your theory, I know I'm doing a 1 to a 5 to a minor 6 to a 4. That's what the chord progression is doing. It's okay if you don't know that. But I want to know what those chords are, not just the fact that there's an E chord. So I know I'm in the key of E major. I know what my chords are. Now, what can I do with that information? Well, I need a little more information. I want to think about the tempo, and I want to think about the groove or the feel of the rhythm, okay? So the rhythm, the tempo, is here. Right around there, okay? The groove is straight. Dun, 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 dun. So that's what I know about this song, okay? Now, the tempo might give me more information on, because when we talked about the technique thing, remember? The tempo might give me more information on what I'm capable of doing. Remember when we did the licks and stuff like that, right? I want to, again, I might define the tempo. I mean, I can get out a metronome and define the tempo, but at the very least, I want to be thinking about dun, 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 da, 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 dun, 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 right? All those different things, because that's what I'm hearing when I listen to this. Dun, 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 da, 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 Maybe even a triplet, right? Whatever. These are the tools that I have. Okay? So let's start at the very beginning. And remember, at some point, anytime, if you want to, there's going to be a link somewhere where you can click on this and see the Christmas bundle, the guitar bundle, and see if it's something that you're interested in. And this is very much what we'll be talking about. It's one element in that bundle. So I'm going to choose a scale now. So I'm moving into, I've figured out, I've assessed my situation, okay? And I could continue assessing it as much as I need to. But now I'm going to move into my tools and figure out, well, what do I have in my toolbox to approach this? Well, I know it's an E major, right? So what does that tell me about a scale? And then what does that tell me about my knowledge of my fretboard? So let's start there. So let's say you just knew E major pentatonic. So you'd go to E major pentatonic. Okay? And I want to say one other thing before we get in there. There's also my guitar tone, the effects that I'm using, whatever it might be. Now you're going to notice I have some delay and reverb because it sounds really nice for the solo. If I was playing, rhythm or something like that, I wouldn't have all of these effects on here. But so that's another element of the tools is the tone that I'm using. I don't want to go into this with a completely clean tone, me personally, because it would feel a little awkward to me. I don't want to go into this with a, death metal guitar tone for a solo because, again, it's not really a singable sound to me. I want to go in there with a lead tone that has a lot of mid-range, doesn't have a lot of low end. We got a little delay and reverb on the outside to kind of, soften up the sound a little bit and give me a little bit of a cushion. I always love a little delay and reverb like that. My rules, and again, that's another conversation, but my rules with effects are, I don't use like choruses and that stuff, almost never. For me, it's delay and reverb. And the trick to the delay and the reverb is that I want the delay and the reverb to be less than the actual signal of my guitar. So when I'm playing, you're hearing my guitar. You're not hearing the delay overtaking the volume of the notes I'm playing. So when I stop playing, that's when you hear the effect. So what it's doing is it's creating a cushion after I play and I stop. And what that almost does is it encourages me to stop more often. Because the truth is one of the tools that you'll learn in the bundle, and certainly, if you study my other stuff, is that one of the tools, one of the elements of soloing is that you want to learn to stop. Like if you're playing the whole time and you never stop playing, it's like somebody talking the whole time and never stops talking. It can be annoying, right? You need to stop talking, whether you stop talking with a comma because you're going to take a breath, or you stop talking with a period, which means you're done talking for a certain amount of time. So for us, we're going to call that, we're going to make that part of what we call phrasing. So phrasing is learning how to talk or sing on the guitar using quarter notes, eighth notes, sixteenths, whatever it is you have at your disposal, and also learning to pause and to stop. Because if you play a phrase and you stop, it gives time to breathe. And then you come back. You see? Now, if I turn those off and I play, see, it's like hitting a brick wall. It's like the sound is just getting sucked into outer space. Where if I turn that on, and I don't need a lot of it. I mean, even now it might be a little more than I probably need, but if I play, there's a cushion that exists after I get done playing that allows me to not have to play right away again. I can allow that to kind of space out there, and then I'll come back. You see? And I can use that to my advantage. So tone the guitar tone that you're using, an amp, whatever it is that you're choosing, and then the effects that you're using. Again, I'm not using the effects to hide something about my playing, because it's very possible, and it happens all the time, where people will use just too much effects because they have it on a pedal or on, whatever it might be, on a multi-effects unit, or just because it's there, so they put all these things on there, and then when they get done, it just sounds so processed that it really doesn't sound natural anymore anyway. Now again, there's a time and a place for that, but not every time and every place. So just something to think about a little bit. So I'm already aware of that when I go into playing over the top of this. Now, there's a little more gain than I need, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that volume and I'm going to roll it off a little bit like we did with some of the licks. I don't need as much gain. Now, it's there in case I want to really dig into something, that's great. But if I don't need to, I'll roll that volume off, okay, and find a nice space. Again, they don't have numbers or anything. I was never that kind of player that, well, it's on number 6, or I just roll it off until it feels right. So I just roll that off a little bit, and then I'm ready to go. So those are tools. So I've got my, whoops, I just dropped my guitar pick, but it didn't go into oblivion. Here it is. So I've got my scale, which at this point is E major pentatonic. Now you might know some other positions of E major pentatonic. Whatever it is, right? And that's great. So again, this is your tools. You're in the key of E major, and you're asking yourself, well, with my tools available, what do I know about E major? What do I know about my fretboard relative to E major? These are the questions you have to ask yourself, and then you have to answer honestly. I need more work with other positions. I need to more work with my technical skill of being able to play up and down this scale position, whatever it might be. Okay? I need to know where my bends are. I need to get better at my bends, right? Whatever. I mean, there's a million things in there that you can think about. And I don't want you to get caught up on, I need this and I need this and I need to get better at this. Those are great, and you want to suss those out, okay? But you also want to focus on what are the tools that you have available, because at the end of the day, if you and I are going to jam together, I'm not concerned about what you can't do. What I need to know is what you can do, and then exemplify those skills that you do have, and then focus on the skills that you don't have or you need to nurture more when we're done. That's what learning is all about. It's not just about, always feeling good about ourselves. Yes, we want that. But we also want to know, what is it that we need to get to the next level? What is it that we need to work on to, and yes, that requires practice. Welcome to welcome to the real world, right? I mean, I always tell people, practice on the days that you eat. That was always my thing. You can spend a little time every day. There's a million reasons why you won't practice, or you can't practice, or you don't practice. You just got to find one reason to do it. You got to find one reason to do it every day. Practice on the days that you eat, right? So anyway, let's keep going. So I know it's E, B, C sharp minor, A. Those are my chords. I've got E major pentatonic. Now let's start at square number 1. Square number 1 is, I'm just going to start moving through here and trying to make a rhythmic connection to what's happening. Okay, so here we go. And you can see, now it's impossible for me to turn off the musicality completely, but you can see it works. I'm thinking about dun 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 dun. I'm thinking about the phrasing that I could use, okay, and the skill set that I have to be able to play. Now you're going to notice there's some other things happening there too, which are what I call vocal elements, like hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, and vibrato. Those are the vocal tools. These are the tools for me that every guitar player on the planet needs to know. Because if you're not using any of those, you might as well just be playing a piano a regular acoustic piano. Because a regular piano, not an electric piano, but a regular, grand piano or upright piano, you can't do vibrato, you can't bend, right? All of those things. What are those things? They are vocal tools. They're tools that allow us to get closer to making the guitar sound like it's singing. You see? So there's lots of different ways we can approach that. To make it sound more musical, more authentic, more real. And again, those things take time to develop. But they're there. They are part of my skill set. They're part of the tools that I'm using. Okay? So I'm sussing out the tools. Now, another tool would be my fretboard knowledge. I'm not making quite the musical connection I want just yet, but I am sussing out my tools. So if I start it again, I'm going to start utilizing some of my other fretboard positions. So I'm now figuring out how to move around the fretboard using these other positions. Notice as I'm playing, the difference here is, and I see this all the time when I would teach. Again, I don't teach private lessons anymore, but I taught them for almost 30 years. 27 years I taught private lessons to hundreds of students a week sometimes. And what happens is you can tell when guitar players go into practice mode in their head. They're not listening and responding musically anymore. They've gone to practice mode, and I always call that the guitar brain. Okay? So what happens is they'll be playing, and they'll move down and they'll start going. And you can tell they're starting to try and figure out that position or whatever. They've made that transition now in their brain where they're not really trying to make music. They're trying to figure out something on the fretboard. Now listen, it happens to all of us. But my point is, you don't want that to happen when you're trying to play on stage or you're, at an audition playing with people or something like that. Because now you're not giving the best. You've just transitioned into, what is this? Where am I at? And what am I doing? And and all of a sudden the music is gone. So again, that's where me and you and everybody else, we would shut this down and go, okay, I need to work on that position. That's something I need to work on. Because I sure would like to go there and get creative there too. But when I go there, I can't really do that. It's stifling me. It's shutting me down. So again, being honest with yourself and knowing this, all right, to get out of just playing it. Because I'm telling you, for me personally, there was something absolutely life-changing about learning my fretboard. Because all of a sudden I could go wherever I wanted to go and do whatever I wanted to do. And I'm not saying I'm done, and I'm not saying I've learned everything there is to learn. That's not what I'm saying at all. But that was huge for me, was to open up that availability of being able to do that. And the second thing, which is what we're getting to very quickly here, is being able to connect to the chords as they're being played versus just randomly playing and hoping things line up, which again, I can't shut it off anymore. I'm trying to minimize it right now, but it's pretty much impossible to shut off completely. But I do want to say, we're gonna keep talking. We have all kinds of stuff to do, but I want to roll this video here. Derek's got a video that shows, just a short video, that shows about the guitar, the Christmas guitar bundle. So if you're ready, Derek, I don't know how you do this, but because he does it every time, so it's perfect. But if you can run that and then come back to me, we'll keep going. So just watch this quick and then we'll come back. Today, you can click the Yes, I Want This Christmas Bundle button to get instant lifetime access to 6 brand new guitar courses on playing songs by ear, licks, soloing, jamming, and more that I'll reveal in the next few minutes of this video. So pay close attention to the message so you can see if it's right for you Hi, I'm Steve Stine, and I want you to play your favorite songs without looking up tabs, or play solos that burn up the fretboard, that people will love because they sound great and look effortless, and ultimately have more fun playing guitar and have the confidence to jam with fellow musicians. Then keep watching this video, because you're about to discover a simple way to play songs by ear, massively increase your picking speed and accuracy, mix and match killer licks to create awe-inspiring solos across the fretboard, and play anything you want on guitar. But there's one big problem that's holding you back. It's something I've seen again and again in my 35 years of being a guitar teacher to hundreds of thousands of guitar players worldwide. That big problem is only having bits and pieces of the guitar playing puzzle figured out, and not seeing how everything fits together to be a complete, confident, well-rounded guitar player. In fact, you've probably felt frustrated and confused for years. Now, the good news is that it's not your fault, because you were never given a simple step-by-step plan of guitar courses to follow to see real, noticeable improvements in your guitar playing every day. That's why I created the Ultimate Christmas Bundle. The Ultimate Christmas Bundle gives you instant online access to 6 new guitar courses to skyrocket your guitar playing. You'll get Learn to Play Songs by Ear. As a guitar player, one thing you probably want is the complete freedom to play any song. In fact, you've probably already spent hours trying to figure out songs using YouTube videos or online guitar tabs, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I bet you've noticed that both of these waste a lot of your time. Not only that, sometimes they're just plain wrong, and then you end up frustrated and may even pick up some bad habits that will hold you back for years. Ultimately, you don't develop the skill to hear the music and figure it out quickly in your head, which is a skill that you really want to develop if you ever want to play with other musicians. But there's an easy way to get around all that. It's exactly what pro musicians use to learn songs in minutes, and the good news is that even a beginner can use this skill to figure out songs without having to look up any tabs. It's called ear training, and that's exactly what I'll show you in my new course, Learn to Play Songs by Ear. I'll show you simple ways to figure out the chord progressions to songs in minutes, because there's a big secret most guitar players never hear about. Thousands of popular songs in rock, pop, and blues use the same chord progression. It's called the 1-4-5. Don't believe me? Check out what Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits has to say.
When you learn your first chords and you're going... That's a very basic kind of... That's your 1 chord. And here's your 4 chord. Then your 5 chord. The same chords in the B in a blues. It's the same chords, your 1 chord, and then the bit that would be that. It'd be the same thing. So it's the same. It's really all the same music.
When you realize that you can cut the time it takes to learn new songs in half, it also works for solos. Imagine what it will feel like when you're hanging out playing music with your friends and someone says, "Hey, can you play this song?" And instead of freezing up, you say, "Give me 10 minutes." You'll quickly download it on your phone, listen to it, and within a few minutes you'll have the chord progression down. You go through it a couple of times on your own just to make sure you have the chord changes down. Then you say, "I got it, let's try it with everyone." With the skill of ear training, you can even watch another guitarist start playing and anticipate what will come next, because you'll already have learned the skills of common chord progressions and what to listen for. So the rhythm section starts things off and you launch into the chord progression. Your fingers are nailing each chord without any hesitation. Everyone's smiling and having a great time playing music together. And you even have a killer idea for a solo, but more on that later in this video. Now that skill alone is worth your entire investment in the Ultimate Christmas Bundle, but we're just getting started because you'll get Picking Booster. You may not believe it, but your guitar pick is the biggest amplifier that there is. You can change the whole tone of a song or lick just by how hard or soft you pick it, without having to adjust the volume. That's why your picking technique is so important. You want to play clean and clear without tripping over your fingers or hitting dead notes. You want to learn to play fast solos for real and not fake your way through. That's why I've also included my new Picking Booster course to help you massively improve your picking speed and accuracy. I'll show you my best tips and tricks to build your finger strength, stamina, and most importantly, hand synchronization. So your left hand is hitting every note that your right hand is picking, which is something 98% of guitar players never get right. Now this will work for you even if you have weak hands or fingers, or you feel like you've tried everything. And it's a total game changer when you're learning solos by players like Eddie Van Halen or Kirk Hammett. It's also ultra impressive. But we're just getting started because over my 30 years of playing and teaching guitar to hundreds of thousands of guitar players across the world, I've noticed another huge problem. Most guitar players don't really know how to solo. Sure, they might know a few scales and how to play them across the fretboard, but they have no idea how to play solos with feeling, like Eric Clapton explains in this video.
And for me, I just start singing. But I do it with the guitar. That's the groove, and it will be, that's just me singing, really. It's just really all it is a voice. You know, it's got nothing to do with technique at all. Experience maybe of, you know, having confidence in knowing that what you hear in your head you can do with your hand. But apart from that, it's not any cleverness at all, it's just feeling.
That's why you'll get my new course, Major Key Soloing. Now this soloing course is unlike any soloing courses that I've ever created because it's entirely focused on creating solos that sound like you're singing in major keys. Now why is that important? Because most guitar players only learn to solo in minor keys like you hear in some classic rock and tons of blues songs. But here's the big problem with that. Spotify recently analyzed 30 million songs in their database and found that more than half of the songs are written in major keys. That means you're missing out on soloing over thousands of popular songs like Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd, Jessica by the Allman Brothers Band, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, and many, many more. Just like every other guitar player who just noodles around out there and doesn't put things together. I want more for you than that, and in Major Key Soloing, I've made soloing over major key songs easy. I'll take you by the hand using a hit song you'll instantly recognize and show you how to create a jaw-dropping major key solo over it. Best of all, this can be applied to any major key song you want to solo over. Now, with your new soloing skills, you're going to need some licks. So in the Ultimate Christmas Bundle, you'll also get my 21 Legato Licks course. Now, 21 Legato Licks builds on every previous course that I've talked about. You're already able to hear chord progressions and figure out songs in minutes with Learn Songs by Ear. Your picking speed and accuracy has skyrocketed with Picking Booster, and every note you play is coming out clean and clear. You're now soloing with complete confidence with major key soloing, and now you're ready to add some jaw-dropping licks to your arsenal. That's why I've also included 21 Legato Licks. Now these licks are the perfect complement to your guitar solos. They're not basic licks that every other guitar player knows. These are awe-inspiring licks that feel awesome to play and make anyone listening say, wow, what was that? I've broken each lick down step by step so you'll know exactly where to put your fingers and won't have to worry about hitting wrong notes. And you'll be able to mix and match them to play solos faster and better than you ever thought possible, which will make you a true lead guitar player who knows how to tell a story with your guitar solos. So everyone listening hangs on every note that you play. But I've taken everything a step further, because the truth is, there's no better way to continually improve your soloing than jamming. And while I was making this Ultimate Christmas Bundle, I thought, what better way to wire in everything to learn songs faster and play amazing solos than jamming with me personally? So I've included something I've never offered before. You'll get my new collection of interactive jams. Now, I recorded these interactive jams to simulate how to improve your rhythm and soloing in the real world. You'll get several jams in different styles where I show you how to play the chord progression. Now, I know that might not sound exciting, but remember, 95% of the time, a guitar player is focused on rhythm. That's why it's part of the rhythm section. And once you know what's going on with the rhythm, you'll have the tools to create a plan for your solo. But that's where things get really cool with these interactive jams when it comes to soloing. I've recorded them so that you and I can trade licks back and forth. So you're improving your soloing and learning how to play with another musician, which improves your sense of rhythm, timing, and phrasing. So your solos sound like an extension of the song rather than a bunch of random notes strung together. And I'll be adding new interactive jams throughout the year, so you'll have an entire library of jams to improve your soloing for years to come. Finally, you get my Motivation Vault. Now, these are short, focused guitar lessons with one golden nugget to improve your guitar playing in the shortest time possible. They cover specific topics like learning songs, picking, strumming, creating a practice routine, blues, and of course, soloing. Think of them like a weekly dose of motivation to keep you progressing on your guitar journey. Now, they've never been offered for sale before, and you can only get them when you place your order today. You'll also get a progress tracker for each course and membership in our private Facebook community where thousands of members hang out and share their passion for guitar playing and encourage each other to contribute in a positive and encouraging way. Your Ultimate Christmas Bundle gives you lifetime access to learn to play songs by ear, picking booster, major key soloing, 21 legato licks, my interactive jams, and Motivation Vault, and has a total value of $414. But you won't even pay close to the retail value of $414 for the Ultimate Christmas Bundle. Not $300, not $150, not even half that. Your total investment today for the Ultimate Christmas Bundle is just 3 easy payments of $19.60. And if you want to save 20% today, you just select this one and done payment option when you check out. But you need to act fast because this is only available until the big timer hits 0 on this page. So click the Yes, I Want This Christmas Bundle button below to get the Ultimate Christmas Bundle now. And you're protected by my 30-day guarantee. Truly put your Ultimate Christmas Bundle to the test for a full 30 days and see if it's right for you. If you don't think it's a good fit, no big deal. Just contact our friendly support team and they'll issue you a full refund or exchange. No questions asked, no receipt required. However, I can only offer this price for a short time. Once the big timer hits 0, this page will be removed and you'll miss out. So click the button below to get the Ultimate Christmas Bundle today, which gives you lifetime access to 6 all-new courses. Learn to play songs by ear, picking booster, major key soloing, 21 legato licks, my interactive jams, and Motivation Vault before the big timer hits 0. And have a Merry Christmas. Okay, I think we're back. So if that gives you a little more information, definitely please do me a favor. Click on the link, see if it's something you're interested in. I would sure appreciate that. And if it's not, that's cool, okay? But let's keep going with the conversation. So where do we leave off here? We were talking about the tools, making this E major pentatonic connection. So we're doing rhythm connection, we're doing fretboard connection, we're thinking about phrasing, we're thinking about those vocal tools, right? All these things are happening. And it doesn't matter whether you're a skilled player that's been playing a long time or you've just started kind of dabbling with soloing. These all apply to everybody, just on different levels, right? Just on different experience levels of where you are. So it doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be slow. It doesn't have to be high. It doesn't have to be low. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be complicated. It can be whatever you want. But again, at the end of the day, your goal is to connect to the music, not just show off, not just, I got to play everything I've ever learned ever on this instrument in the next 9 seconds, right? You got to learn to make musical choices here. That's the whole point. So as this is playing, I'm going to go back to E major pentatonic, and then we're going to expand. We're going to go into diatonics as well. But let me go back here, and let me start making this next connection, which is a pitch connection, okay? Which you can call chord chasing. I've called it chord chasing and lots of different things. And there's different ways of approaching this. But so we've got this E chord. Okay, so we're going to go to E. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and figure out where the E's are. Well, I have an E here at the 12th fret of the 6th string. I have an E at the 9th fret of the 3rd string. and I have an E on the 12th fret of the first string. So those are where the E's are. So again, when the E chord is being played in the musical situation, those are notes that I could try and direct my movement toward. Now, some of you might be saying, well, can't you go to this or can't you go to this? Yes, you can do all kinds of different things. But let's start at square number one, which is giving our movement direction instead of just moving around aimlessly. We're going to move toward E. Now, do we have to go to the E every time the E chord is played? No. Do we have to go to E on the downbeat? Beat number one? No. Okay? The rules don't work like that. But here's the difference. We do want to go to E sometime. If we just randomly play and hope to God we're going to land on the right note at the right time, that's taking a chance. And again, sometimes you roll the dice and it works out. It's like gambling. Sometimes it doesn't. If you want to elevate your game, you need to get out of that game of chance and start defining things. Because all the players that you like, I guarantee you, know more about that than you might if you're at that stage and you're playing. Because that's how this works, right? You don't just gamble every time. You start making some logical choices that are going to make music. So I know that I can go to the E. I can work into an E from the lower part. I can work my way backward. Right? Any way I want. And it's the way I'm moving, which is the creative execution of things. That's that third level, right? So we've got assessment, we've got the tools that we have available at our disposal, and then we've got the creative execution. That's what this is. So the way you use this information, the way you move around the fretboard, the way you play your vibrato, all these different things is unique to you. And this is what practice is all about, is developing those things. So there's my E. And I know E will work over the E chord, right? So I can go into that however I want. Whatever I want, okay? I can spend as little or as much time as I want on that E. But again, understand, this is another thing I want you to walk away on really thinking about. If you don't emphasize anything at the right time, you're emphasizing nothing. Like if you go... Nothing is more important than anything else, which means there's nothing defined that's connecting to this music. You're just randomly playing. Now again, there are times when we play randomly, but then we alter that with something that connects, okay? So for me, I've always called this, there's a bunch of different terms I use for this, but if you think about it as musical connection, okay? So, and for me, it's dynamics. Like, I always think about playing dynamically. So if I did something low, play something high. If I played fast, play slow. If I played a lot, play a little bit. If I played loud, play quiet, right? So if I didn't connect, I connect. Diatonic versus pentatonic, all these different things. I'm always thinking about that diversity in playing, because that's what keeps things interesting, at least hopefully it does, okay? I don't want to dive too far in the guitar brain and get lost. I still want to make that musical connection. But if I can make that diversity part of my creative expression of playing, it's going to sound more like music, okay? So I got my E. So I don't know the other chords yet, but at least I got E. At least I got a starting point. So if I start this again. So, again, I can't turn everything off when I'm playing, but you get the idea. So I'm basically going to E, and then I'm going other places, and I'm not exactly sure, but I'm coming back to E here and there. And it gives it some direction. It gives it a movement, a motion, like it means to do it, which is the whole point, right? So I'm using phrasing, I'm using my, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, whatever those skills are. I'm still just using pentatonic at this point, but I'm giving this direction by going to this E? Well, okay, so we know that the next chord that's coming up is B. So if I knew where there was a B on my guitar, I could go there. Well, let's figure that out. Let's figure out where B would be. Well, we have a B right there. So it's right below the E on my guitar. If I'm here, it's right below it. So the B is right below that. So again, do I have to go to B every time the B comes up? No, but I know that it's available and I can use that. It's a tool in the toolbox that I can use. And I am going to use that just to start building this a little bit. So here we go. And logic would say that connects, right? Gotta turn that down just a little bit on my end. So it works just fine. Okay, so now we have a C sharp coming. Well, we'd have to figure out where C sharp is. Well, it's 2 frets higher than the B, obviously. So if I know where B is, I can go to that C sharp. Now, you can see where we're leading here. At the end of the day, E, B, C sharp, and then A, okay? I'm just looking for the root of each one of these chords at this point. If I did that every single time, that would get boring for me and for the listener, right? It would make a musical connection, but I need more than that, but I do absolutely emphatically need that, all right? So I've got E, here comes B, here comes C sharp, and notice how I'm using some of the other notes of the pentatonic to kind of vehicle me around, kind of maneuvers me from E to B. And again, this is the creative aspect. The way I navigate is going to sound different than the way you navigate, right? But that navigation is really important. I'm not just going... right? I might need to start there. In the very beginning stages, I might need to do exactly that. But as I keep moving into this musical environment, I want to try and make it sound more musical. And I can do that with my phrasing. I can do that with the way I navigate across the fretboard. I can do that with, vocal tools, which I'm not quite using yet because I don't want to lose you, okay? So we have E, we have B, we have C sharp. Now here's the thing. We have A coming up. Well, we can search our E major pentatonic, and we're not going to find an A because it doesn't exist in there. So we're going to have to add the A in when the A comes. Now, that is power. Let me tell you why. Number one, if you're not using that A previously, and then all of a sudden you utilize that A note somewhere in your solo, it's going to sound fresh to a listener. It's going to sound fresh to you too. Okay? So if you think about what's happening, and I don't mean to make this too deep, but when you're adding that A into the pentatonic, you've expanded that pentatonic. And that pentatonic is actually becoming closer and closer and closer to becoming the parent scale, which we call diatonic, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, if you already know the diatonic scale, this is important for you to listen to, because the beauty of this is that you're starting with a skeletal scale of pentatonic, and you're giving this pentatonic sound. And when that A comes up, you're adding it in, and it sounds fresh. If you're one of those players that's always going, and you're playing everything all the time, again, if you're playing everything all the time, nothing is sounding important. So the beauty of being able to hold back from playing certain notes doesn't mean you have to play pentatonic all the time, but if you hold back from playing everything all the time, it makes other notes sound more dynamic, more interesting. It's pretty cool, okay? So I now know I've got E, B, C sharp, and now I got this A on the 12th fret of the 5th string right there, which was not pentatonic, but I'm gonna add it in when I get to the A. So start this all over, kind of watch this. again, nothing crazy happening right now, but what I was doing is I was using E, B, C sharp, and A, and then I went up here and started using this B and this C sharp, which I actually bent to, and then A was right there, because obviously A, B, C sharp is right there. And I'm not trying to blast you with all this stuff. I'm just saying this is what I'm thinking about. It might take you a little while to get used to this. Now, I can do that anywhere on the fretboard that I choose, and I don't always just have to make connection to the root every time, okay? I can emphasize other notes. Now, how would you do that? Well, maybe you know that the chords are derived or are part of a larger picture, which we call a triad, the root, the third, and fifth. And maybe you can see those notes on your fretboard for each one of those chords and all that sort of thing. And again, please differentiate the difference between understanding the theory, being able to see the theory, and being able to execute the theory in real time with this track. They're three very different things. Because people love to say, oh, I know A, it's A, C sharp, and E, and B is B, D sharp, and F sharp, and yeah, I get it. That's great that you know that. But can you find it on your fretboard, and can you execute it in real time when you're doing this? And if you can't, or you can't on either one of those levels, that's a great time to go, you know what? That's what I need to work on. That's what I need. Okay? Now, maybe you don't know that. Maybe you don't know that information. But what you might know is that, for instance, E, there's an E fifth string bar chord sitting right here, which consists of 7, 9, 9, 9, 7. Now, visualizing those notes sitting right there, what that tells me is if I was playing an E major pentatonic, I could emphasize that or that or that or that or that when the E chord is being played, because any of those notes are obviously compatible with the E chord because I'm playing them when I play the E chord, right? So I can play my pentatonic, but do I have to go to E? No, I could go to whatever this note is, right? Or whatever this note is, which we know is B because we played it before, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So even though you might not know all your theory and you might not know the names of the notes on your guitar, you still could make a larger connection to the chord by learning to visualize it. And then here comes that B chord. Well, now I'm playing 7, 9, 9, 8, 7, 7. So now I could connect to any of those notes. Let's say I connected 7, 9, 9, 8. 8 was not part of the pentatonic scale. That note right there, okay? Which is D sharp, okay? So, and again, it's okay if you don't know that, but that wasn't part of the pentatonic. But when that B chord comes up, man, wouldn't that be a cool note to play? Here comes C sharp. Here comes that A. Look at how that sounds, right? Sounds pretty cool. So, and again, using the maneuverisms that I want to get around as I'm playing, let me start this again. There's a million things I could do. Now I could add those licks that we were talking about last week. I could start adding whatever I want. I can add those in as well. So my solo now isn't just based off knowing licks and hoping all my licks work. It's also not just based on note connection. It's all of these things at once. It's all encompassing. You see, that's the cool thing about this. Now, that might seem a little overwhelming, and it might seem exciting. Like, I get excited when I talk about this stuff, and I certainly get excited when I learn these things. But it's a journey. Guitar playing is a journey, and your job then is to take this information and figure out how you can best use this to say, okay, this is where I am, this is what I have, this is what I need, this is what I want, but this is what I need to make that next connection. Okay? And sometimes you got to really pick through that stuff because you might just constantly be telling yourself, oh, I want that, and I want to do that, and I want to do that, which you might already do, right? You jump on YouTube or something, you see players, and you're going, oh, I want to play that, and I want to learn that. I get it. You know, one of my favorite players of all time is a guy by the name of Tommy Emmanuel, if you know who he is. He's an amazing acoustic guitar player. I don't play anything like him. Maybe in my next life I'll play like him, right? But in this world, in this life, I do not play anything like him. I am inspired by his playing, by his skill, by his attitude, right? All those things, I absolutely adore the man, okay? But I don't play anything like him, and I'm totally okay with that because you know what? At the end of the day, I'm creating this thing that is me, and right now I can't say I'm going to get rid of all this so I can do that because I love this. I love what I'm doing, okay? I love what he's doing, but there's no room for what he's doing right now to completely revamp and, you know, destroy what I've done to try and go that direction because it's so different than what I do. So I enjoy it, and it inspires me. He inspires me. But it's not what I play. It's not where I am. So it doesn't interrupt my flow. It doesn't interrupt my sphere of who I am. You see what I'm saying? You've got to learn to be able to do the same thing. Figure out what does work for you and how to implement that, and then kind of keep the other things at bay, maybe temporarily, maybe longer. It just depends. But that's part of developing that path. Anyway, I don't want to talk your ear off, but I hope that helps you a little bit in better understanding this. So do me a favor, check out the link for the bundle, see if it's something that you're interested in. And most important, stay positive, keep practicing. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you took time out to hang out with me. I always appreciate that. So anyway, stay warm wherever you are, and stay positive, and I hope your holidays are awesome, and I'll talk to you soon, all right? So take care.